turn around on its central axis, creating a shape that looks like a donut, but the hole in the middle is infinitely small. A torus, here called torus tube because the particular one is shaped like an inner tube, is unique in its ability to fold in on itself, turning either inward or outward. No other shape in existence can do this or anything similar. A torus is the first shape that comes out of the completed Genesis pattern and is absolutely unique among all other forms in existence. It was Arthur Young who discovered that there are 7 regions on this shape, which are collectively called the 7-color map. You can pick up in almost any mathematics book, and if you go to the torus, it will talk about the 7-colored map. There are 7 regions, all the same size, that will exactly fit in the torus tube with nothing left over. Just like on the Genesis pattern, 6 circles going around the 7th, central one, take up an entire surface. It's perfect, flawless. In sacred geometry, there's something called ratcheting. You take a circle or line and ratchet it, like when you take a ratchet tool in car mechanics and use it to rotate it to something a certain distance. For instance, imagine 2 Genesis patterns superimposed on each other. One pattern is fixed. If you rotate the other pattern 30 degrees, you would have 12 spheres around the central one. It would look like this, in 2 dimensions. In 3 dimensions, it would look like a torus tube. If you connect all the possible lines in the middle, you get this pattern. The innermost circles show the first 6 days of Genesis. Once the consciousness projects the first 7 spheres and completes the Genesis pattern, it then continues moving in a rotational pattern from each consecutive innermost place until it completes the second vortex motion as seen by the outermost circles. That motion in turn completes the 3-dimensional shape you can hold in your hand, which looks like this. So what? Who cares? Well, the ancients did, because they were concerned with creation, life, and death. They called this cluster of spheres the egg of life. I'll show you how the egg of life is the morphogenetic structure that created your body. Your entire physical existence is dependent on this egg of life structure. Everything about you was created with the egg of life form, right down to the colors of your eyes, the shape of your nose, how long your fingernails are, and everything else. It's all based on this one form. When you extrapolate the vortex one more time, you get this pattern, which should be recognizable to most of you watching this video. This is the fruit of life pattern. If you superimpose straight lines over this in all 13 ways, you'll come up with 13 patterns that, along with the egg of life and the torus, create everything in existence. The egg of life, the torus, and this fruit of life, a total of 3 patterns, create everything in existence without exception. Anyone who has studied sacred geometry or even regular geometry knows that there are 5 unique shapes, and they are crucial to understanding both sacred and regular geometry. They're called the Platonic solids. A Platonic solid has certain characteristics by definition. First of all, its faces are all the same size. For instance, a cube, the most well-known of the Platonic solids, has a square on every face, so its faces are all the same size. Second, the edges of a Platonic solid are always the same length. All edges of a cube are the same length. Third, it has only one size of interior angles between faces. In the case of a cube, this angle is 90 degrees, and fourth, if a Platonic solid is put inside a sphere of the right size, all points will touch the surface of the sphere. With that definition, there are only 4 shapes besides the cube that all have these characteristics. Second, B is the tetrahedron. Tetra means 4. A polyhedron that has 4 faces, all equilateral triangles, 1 edge length and 1 angle, and all points touch the surface of a sphere. The other simple one is an octahedron, octa means 8, whose 8 faces are equilateral triangles of the same size, edge, length, and angle, and all points touch the surface of a sphere. The other 2 Platonic solids are a little more complicated. One is called an icosahedron, which means it has 20 faces, made of equilateral triangles with the same edge, length, and angle, and all points touch the surface of the sphere. The last one is called a pentagonal dodecahedron, dodeca is 12, whose faces are 12 pentagons, 5 sides, with the same edge length and same angle, whose points all touch the surface of the sphere. If you're an engineer or an architect, you have studied these 5 shapes in college, at least cursorily, because they're the basis of structures. These 6 shapes were considered by ancient alchemists and great souls like Pythagoras, the father of Greece, to have an elemental aspect to them. The tetrahedron was considered fire, the cube was earth, the octahedron was air, the icosahedron was water, and the dodecahedron was ether. prana or tachyon energy, they're all the same thing. They extend everywhere and are accessible at every point in time, space, dimension. This is the great secret of zero-point technology. And the sphere is voidness. These 6 elements are the building blocks of the universe. They create the qualities of the universe. In alchemy, they usually talk only about fire, earth, air, and water. They seldom discuss ether or prana because it's so sacred. In the Pythagorean school, if you even uttered the word dodecahedron outside the school, they would kill you on the spot. That's how sacred the shape was. They wouldn't even discuss it. 200 years later, when Plato was alive, he would discuss it only very carefully. Why? Because the dodecahedron is near the outer edge in your energy field and is the highest form of consciousness. When you get to the 55-foot limit of your energy field, it's a sphere. But the very next shape outside the sphere is the dodecahedron. Actually, the dodecahedron-icosahedral relationship. In addition, we live in a big dodecahedron that contains the universe. When your mind reaches out to the end of space, and there is an end, there's a dodecahedron enclosed in a sphere. I can say this because the human body is a hologram of the universe and contains the same principles. The 12 constellation of the zodiac fits inside of it. The dodecahedron is the termination point of the geometries, and it's very important. On a microscopic level, the dodecahedron and icosahedron are the relational parameters of DNA, the blueprint of all life. You can relate the 3 columns in this figure to the tree of life and the 3 primary energies of the universe, male on the left, female on the right, and child in the center. Or if you go right down to the fabric of the universe, you have the proton on the left, the electron on the right, and the neutron in the center. This central column, which is the creating one, is the child. Remember, we went from an octahedron to a sphere to begin the process out of the void. It is the beginning of the process of creation, and it is found in the child, or central column. The left column, holding the tetrahedron in the cube, is the male component of consciousness, the left side of the brain. The faces of these polygons are triangles or squares. The center column is called the corpus callosum, which links the left and right sides. The right column, holding the dodecahedron and icosahedron, is the female component of consciousness, the right side of the brain, and the polygon faces that are made up of triangles and pentagons. Thus, the polygons on the left have 3- and 4-sided faces, and the shapes on the right have 3- and 5-sided faces. In terms of the Earth's consciousness, the right column is the missing component. We have created the male left side of Earth's consciousness, and what we are doing now is completing the female component for wholeness and balance. The right side is also associated with Christ or unity consciousness. The dodecahedron is the basic form of the Christ consciousness grid around the Earth. In Dan Winter's book, Heart Mad, the DNA molecule is shown to be constructed by a dual relationship of dodecahedron and icosahedron. One can also see the DNA molecule as a rotating cube. When you rotate a cube through 72 degrees in a particular pattern, it makes an icosahedron, which in turn is the dual with the dodecahedron. So there is a reciprocal pattern going up DNA strands. The icosahedron, then the dodecahedron, then the icosahedron, continuing back and forth. This rotation through the cube creates the DNA molecule. It has been determined that this is the exact sacred geometry behind DNA, although there may be further hidden relationships. Drunvalo Melchizedek maintains that this 72-degree angle rotating in our DNA connects to the blueprint/purpose of the White Guild. As many of you may know, 72 orders are associated with this great white brotherhood. Many people speak of the 72 orders of angels, and the Hebrews speak of the 72 names of God. The reason for 72 has to do with the way the Platonic solids are constructed, which is also related to the Christ consciousness grid around the Earth. If you take 2 tetrahedrons and superimpose them, though in different positions, you get a star tetrahedron, which from a different view is nothing but a cube. You can see how they're interrelated. In a similar manner, you can put 5 tetrahedrons together and make an icosahedral cap. If you make 12 icosahedral caps and put 1 on each face of the dodecahedron, it would require 5 times 10 or 60 tetrahedrons to create a dodecahedron. It would be a stellated dodecahedron because the point comes out of the center of each face. Its dual is the 12 points in the center of each face of the dodecahedron, which forms an icosahedron.
The 60 tetrahedrons plus the 12 of the centers equals 72. Again, the number of orders associated with the Great Wide Brotherhood. The Brotherhood actually functions through the physical relationships of this stellated dodecahedron icosahedral form, which is the basis of the Christ consciousness grid around the world. In other words, the Brotherhood is attempting to bring out the consciousness of the planet's right brain.
Here are some pictures of the platonic solids shown up in natural crystal formation.